And Asa did that which was right in the eyes of the Lord, as did David his father. Now, he did what was right. Right or righteousness is based on the law. You have to have some criteria, okay? And David had the mind of God. So he was like him in his mindset, okay? He wanted to obey God. So what did he do? Verse 12. This is 1 Kings 15 and 12. Listen to what a righteous king does. And he took away the Sodomites out of the land and removed all the idols that his fathers had made. Okay, we read about in Romans and how those who held the truth and unrighteousness, how they gave themselves over to idols. And they gave themselves over to homosexuality. Okay? They gave themselves over to sin. Here, Asa, he destroys the idols. Okay? And he gets the Sodomites out of the land. Okay? And again, sodomite comes from the word sodomy, and sodomy refers to homosexuality. Men and men. Okay, 1 Kings 22. Let's look at another righteous king. Jehoshaphat. Let's find out what he does. 1 Kings 22 and 41 reads, And Jehoshaphat the son of Asa began to reign over Judah in the 4th year of Ahab, king of Israel. Jehoshaphat was 35 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 25 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Azubah, the daughter of Shilhi, and he walked in all the ways of Asa, his father. Okay, so he was just like his father, and his father Asa was just like David. He turned not aside from it, doing that which was right in the eyes of the Lord. Nevertheless, the high places were not taken away, for the people offered and burnt incense yet in the high places. And Jehoshaphat made peace with the king of Israel. Now the rest of the acts of Jehoshaphat and his might that he showed and how he warred, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah? And the remnant of the Sodomites, which remained in the days of his father Asa, he took out of the land. Okay, so this is another righteous king. Let's go to 2 Kings, the 23rd chapter. Okay, we're going to read about a king that was even prophesied in 1 Kings 13 and 2 to do what he did, to make the reforms that he did. Okay, because he turned himself totally over to the Lord when he found out what was in the law. 2 Kings 23 and 3. It reads as follows, And the king, talking about Josiah, stood by a pillar and made a covenant before the Lord to walk after the Lord and to keep his commandments and his testimonies and his statutes with all their heart and all their soul, to perform the words of this covenant that were written in this book. And all the people stood to the covenant. So he's trying to bring the people back into righteousness. Okay? This is what leaders do. This is what leaders should do. Okay? Let's skip down to, let's see some of the things he did. In verse 4, And the king commanded Hilkiah the high priest, and the priest of the second order, and the keepers of the door, to bring forth out of the temple of the Lord the vessels that were made to Baal, and for the grove, and for all the host of heaven. And he burned them without Jerusalem in the fields of Kidron, and carried the ashes of them into Bethel. Okay, so part of his reformation is he gets rid of these images of Baal that were even in the temple. See, Satan had creeped into the temple of God, as far as through the people. Verse 5, And he put down the idolatrous priests, whom the kings of Judah had ordained to burn incense in the high places in the cities of Judah, and in the places round about Jerusalem. Them also that burn incense unto Baal, to the sun, and to the moon, and to the planets, and to all the hosts of heaven. So he got rid of all these false prophets, all these spiritual men who were basically Baal worshippers. Okay, verse 6. And he brought out the grove from the house of the Lord without Jerusalem unto the brook Kidron, and burned it at the brook Kidron, and stamped it small to powder, and cast the powder thereof upon the graves of the children of the people. He's casting out sin. Okay? And he brake down the houses of the Sodomites that were by the house of the Lord, where the women wove hangings for the grove. See, the Sodomites had even moved next to the house of God. Okay? And in today's churches, the Sodomites are in the church and are in the pulpit. Brothers and sisters, sodomy is sin. You can't justify sodomy. You can't justify homosexuality and call yourself a child of God, call yourself a Christian, call yourself worshiping God. Just like you can't say the same if you're an adulterer or if you're a fornicator. It just can't be. Okay? Let's go to 1 John 3. Because, again, I keep saying homosexuality is sin. Okay? And I want to make sure we all know what sin is. 1 John 3 and 4 reads, "Whosoever committeth sin transgresseth also the law, for sin is the transgression of the law." Sin is the breaking of the law. So when you break God's laws, His statutes and His commandments, you have sinned. Let's go to Leviticus 18. Leviticus, the 18th chapter, and verse 22. Let's read His law, and let's read what God has written in His law concerning homosexuality. Leviticus 18 and 22. "Thou shalt not lie with mankind as with womankind. It is abomination." Okay? So this is what He has written in His law. And when you do that, you sin. You can't justify it. Stop trying to justify it. It is unjustifiable. Leviticus 20 and 12. Let's read something else God has written in His law. These are a guide to living. Leviticus 20 and 12. "And if a man lie with his daughter-in-law, both of them shall surely be put to death. They have wrought up confusion, their blood shall be upon them." Okay? So I read that because God has laws pertaining to all types of different immoral sexual relations. Okay? It's not just homosexuality. It's all types of fornication. Okay? A man wasn't supposed to sleep with his mother-in-law, his sister, animals, another man. None of that is supposed to be going on. Okay? Verse 13. "If a man also lie with mankind, as he lieth with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination. They shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them." This is the penalty for sodomy. Okay? That's the penalty for it. And you need to know that penalty. Okay? Like even Ezekiel, the Lord told him, He said, "Hey, I've set you to be a watchman. Warn the people from me." I'm trying to warn you what God has said in His word pertaining to this confusion. Even though we live in a time of tolerance, hey, the Lord is not tolerant of it, and you're going to be brought into judgment for it. Okay? Same thing with adulterers. Same thing with any type of fornication. You need to flee from sin. But sin is the transgression of the law. Let's continue in the law. Deuteronomy, the 23rd chapter. We'll begin at verse... we'll start at 17. We'll read 17. It says, in Deuteronomy 23 and 17, "There shall be no whore of the daughters of Israel, nor a sodomite of the sons of Israel." Okay, so people were supposed to bring their bodies into subjection. There was not supposed to be whores in Israel. Okay? Because Israel was supposed to be a righteous nation. They were supposed to be the nation of priests. Okay? God manifested Himself directly to our forefathers. Okay? And He gave us guidelines in how to live. And we have totally turned away from that. Okay? And we were supposed to show the other nations how to live. And because we failed, they have failed. And so all men have failed. But thank God for Jesus that He can bring us back. And whatever you have done, whatever kind of sexual immorality you have done, you can repent and turn to God. But what you cannot do is try to do what you want to do